The millionaire yelled at his secretary, but her shocking response left everyone speechless. The high-rise office echoed with the thunderous bellow of Carter Dunning, billionaire and notorious hothead, a man who could freeze hell with just one glare. This was no ordinary day at Dunning Enterprises. Under the bright office lights, tension hung thick like fog. Employees huddled at their desks, unsure whether to act like deer caught in headlights or brave their boss's tempestuous spirit. But neither prepared them for what would happen next. From the corner of the room, Jessica, the unassuming secretary with warm brown eyes, raised her head slowly. The silence was deafening. No one expected her to respond to Carter's venomous command, especially not when he was red-faced and fuming over a contract dispute that had spiraled into chaos. His meticulously styled hair jutted out wild, a physical manifestation of his anger. As he paced like a caged lion, eyes blazing, everyone held their breath as if the air itself was charged with electricity. Then it happened. Jessica stood up, her trembling hands clutching the edges of her desk, the color draining from her face. "Carter," she said, her voice steady yet tinged with something deeper. The office gasped collectively. No one called him by his first name, let alone when he was in a rage. The words hung in the air, thick with disbelief. It felt like the world had tilted on its axis, and all eyes were glued to her. What could possibly come next? As the room remained suspended in shock, rumors of Jessica's quiet brilliance darted through whispers. Some believed she held a master's degree, others thought she had a hidden talent that could rival even the brightest star. What was she about to unleash? Carter's eyes narrowed, skepticism flickering like the dying light of a candle. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." After the quick reminder, Jessica's next words hung like a blade ready to drop. "You don't scare me," she declared, surprising even herself with the fierceness in her tone. A rhythm emerged, hearts raced, eyes widened. Would she unravel him? Or would she be crushed under the weight of his fury? The tension was electric. With every second that ticked by, the stakes grew higher. As her expression revealed a fierce determination, the crowd leaned in, eager for the bombshell that was about to explode. How would the millionaire react? What would be the outcome of such defiance? In that instant, the atmosphere shifted, a crack in the foundation of fear that had long held each employee hostage. Daring to challenge authority, Jessica opened a portal to a confrontation that could alter everything. Would the truth behind her brazen response come to light, revealing secrets that had long lurked in the shadows? Questions hung heavy in the air, and just as urgency peaked, the potential fallout lay before them, waiting to be unleashed. Carter's eyes blazed with a mix of surprise and rage. The very air crackled as they locked in a fierce stare, the kind that could scorch flesh and melt steel. His chest heaved, and for a moment, silence poured into the room like a heavy fog. Jessica felt her heart race. Was she really ready for this? The sheer audacity of her words echoed in her mind, and she clenched her fists harder. "Who do you think you are?" he barked, a low growl in his voice. The employees shrank back at his tone, exchanging worried glances, hoping to melt into the walls themselves. "I'm someone who is tired of being pushed around," she shot back, her voice ringing clear and sure against the backdrop of dread. The truth spilled from her lips like a raw wound, unveiling years of pent-up frustration. Murmurs floated around the room, igniting whispers of disbelief and encouragement. Carter stepped forward, towering over her. "Do you know how fast I can ruin your career?" Each word dripped with menace, yet Jessica stood her ground. The fear in her belly twisted, but also ignited something deep within her. She wouldn't cower any longer. I can't be terrified of a man who hides behind his wealth and arrogance, Jessica replied, surprising herself with the calmness of her voice. There was a collective intake of breath, as if the room held every thought captive. A flicker of uncertainty crossed Carter's face, a quick blip before his expression hardened again. You'll regret this. The threat lingered like smoke, dark and foreboding. Just then, the door swung open with a crash, interrupting the electrifying standoff. A tall figure in a tailored suit stepped in, the chaos around him morphing into a backdrop of uncertainty. It was Mark Hastings, Carter's right-hand man. He was known for his ruthless strategies in the boardroom and an unwavering loyalty that bordered on fanatical. Carter. We need to discuss. Mark's voice faltered as he registered the scene. The tension hung thick in the air, and he glanced from Carter's angry face to Jessica's fierce resolve. What are you doing, Jessica? Mark exclaimed, raising an eyebrow before stepping closer, lowering his voice. This isn't the time. But something sparked in Jessica at his words. Oh, it's exactly the time. If not now, then when? The heat of the moment stoked her courage. It wasn't just about the contract disputes anymore, it was about reclaiming her own narrative, her autonomy. Carter's gaze darted between the two of them, confusion creeping into his expression. Mark, just get out. This is none of your business, he snapped, but there was a crack in his facade. Actually, it is my business, and I'll be damned if I let you terrorize anyone in this office. Mark's sudden defense of Jessica shifted the power dynamic even further. This isn't over, Carter hissed, his fists balling at his side, but uncertainty masked his anger. The whispers in the room gained volume, a murmur of support for Jessica, for Mark. It felt tangible, like a wave rising, ready to crash against Carter's fortress of fury. Before Jessica could respond, Mark's stare held hers, a silent understanding passing between them. It felt good, not just the support, but the realization that she wasn't alone. Carter, recognizing the growing rebellion around him, took a step back, the walls of his control beginning to crumble. You'll all regret this, he growled, storming out of the room, leaving a whirlwind of uncertainty and anticipation in his wake. As the door slammed shut, Jessica's heart raced for different reasons. The office buzzed with conversation, glances of gratitude tossed her way. She had ignited something within the office, a flicker of hope, but what would happen next? Would the backlash from Carter be swift and punishing? Would Mark stand by her side, or was he merely a pawn in the game? Jessica's resolve began to quake as a new layer of fear tangled with her triumph. She had stirred the pot, but now she had to face the simmering chaos she had unleashed. What would she do next? The tension in the room lingered thick and steamy after Carter's exit, like the aftermath of a storm that left the air electrified. Jessica drew in a shaky breath, her pulse racing as she scanned the faces of her colleagues. They looked at her with a mix of admiration and trepidation, uncertainty simmering just beneath the surface. Are you okay? Mark stepped closer, concern etched across his sharp features. His previous bravado had softened, revealing the man behind the ruthless reputation. I don't know, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I finally spoke up, and now what if he comes back, or worse, what if I lose my job? Mark shook his head, his strong jaw set with determination. Carter might be powerful, but he's not invincible. If you let fear rule you, you'll be right back where you started. You took a stand today, and that means something. Jessica looked into his eyes, searching for that relentless loyalty that had characterized him in the past. But why do you care? This isn't how things work around here. You could have just walked away. A smirk ghosted across Mark's mouth, a flash of mischief glittering in his steel-blue gaze. Maybe I'm tired of playing his games too. Besides, if he can't keep his demons in check, maybe it's time for a bit of a shake-up, don't you think? Their moment of connection was abruptly shattered by the sudden clang of a metal cabinet slamming shut down the hall. Jessica felt her heart jump. She didn't just confront a man, she had challenged a monster. Carter won't just back down, she whispered, a sick feeling pooling in her stomach. He's vindictive. As if on cue, the door creaked open slightly, and a shadow fell over the threshold. Jessica's breath caught. It was Carter, lurking just beyond the doorframe, eyes glinting with malevolent intent. "You think this is over?" he said, his voice a low, dangerous growl. "You've just begun to play. I'll make sure your little rebellion isn't forgotten. You want to stand up? Fine. Let us see how long you last." A chill crept up Jessica's spine. I am not afraid of you," she said, though her voice faltered slightly. "Of course, you are. Everyone is. You should be wary about the storms you stir." He leaned a bit closer, the shadows sharpening around him, making him appear even more monstrous. "You might not see the consequences right away. But they're coming, oh, they're definitely coming." With that, he leaned back and, with a sinister smile, stepped away. Jessica felt something boiling low in her gut. She wasn't just a pawn on this board, she was ready for battle. "Jessica, don't forget about the project meeting this afternoon," someone chimed in from the back. It was Angela, the timid accountant who usually kept her head down. "We, can't ignore what just happened. Team morale is shaky," she added, voice wavering. "What do you all want to do?" Jessica rasped, realizing this was no longer about her personal fight. They all felt it, the weight of fear settling on their desks, chaining them in an oppressive grip. "Do we stand together against him, or do we let him win?" Silence broke across the room. Glances exchanged, questions, doubts, and something else, determination. Or was it resignation? Only the hum of the fluorescent lights filled the void, draping the room in an uncomfortable atmosphere. Mark took a step toward Jessica. "He's right about one thing. If we don't fight back, we'll regret it. We can turn that fear into strength. And if we don't?" A voice piped up, trembling. "Then nothing changes," Jessica replied, feeling a splash of warmth against the cold dread. Just then, the phone on Jessica's desk buzzed ominously. She reached for it instinctively, and the world outside felt distant as she picked it up. "Miss Taylor?" A composed voice echoed from the other side. "We've been observing. Carter's decisions have raised some questions. Let us discuss your future." Jessica's heart thundered against her ribs. What future? She opened her mouth, caught in a fight-or-flight moment, but before she could respond, the line went dead. Silence consumed the room again. But this time, it felt sharper, more intense. The stakes had risen yet again. Who were these people watching her? And what future lay ahead? As she looked around at her co-workers, their expressions a mix of anxiety and hope, she understood one thing: this was just the beginning. What would she do with this newfound power? The game was afoot, and the pieces were moving. But would she manage to stay ahead of the threats? The question loomed, heavy and real. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting an ominous glow on the tense faces surrounding Jessica. She swallowed hard, the uncertainty in the air curling around her like fog. The weight of the dead phone in her hand felt heavier than it should. What future? Who was watching? Mark stepped closer again, eyes piercing. "Do you think it's a prank?" he asked, glancing nervously at the door, as if expecting Carter to burst in at any moment. "What if they've been watching?" "They know," Jessica interrupted, her mind racing. A knot twisted in her gut. This isn't just about Carter anymore. "So what's the plan, boss?" Angela piped up, her voice shaking. "Plan?" Jessica echoed, her heart pounding louder. She had been thrust into leadership whether she wanted it or not. The burden felt like a lead weight, and for the first time, she realized she couldn't rely on anyone else, not even Mark. "We need proof, evidence of what Carter's up to. If we can expose him, maybe that will turn the tide." Mark nodded, his brows drawn together. "We can start gathering intel. We need something actionable to get the higher-ups to listen." Jessica's mind buzzed with possibilities as she glanced around at her colleagues. Whoever is observing us can't be completely on Carter's side. If we can show them what he really is. An electric tension rippled through the group, everyone leaning forward as if they could taste the excitement mingling with their fear. Angela's voice trembled slightly. What if they don't believe us? Carter's powerful, and he knows how to twist things. Then we gather more evidence, Jessica shot back, her own fear igniting a flicker of determination. We record conversations, save emails, anything that can back us up. A low murmur spread through the group as they began brainstorming on how to tread carefully, think covertly. Jessica felt a flicker of hope igniting, but it was swiftly extinguished by a racking dread for what lay ahead. Suddenly, the lights dimmed momentarily, and a shadow flitted past the glass panel of the door. Jessica's heart stopped. Carter. Everyone to their desks, she whispered urgently, her anxiety flowing through her as they scrambled. They weren't out of the woods yet. In the silence that followed, they all fell into their roles, heads down, pretending to work while trying to gauge who else was tuning in. Seconds felt like years, stretching taut with anticipation. Jessica could hear her heart thumping in her ears, drowning out the ordinary office sounds. The clock ticked steadily, so steady, it was almost mocking. Then, a soft rapping sound reverberated against the door. Jessica's throat went dry as she turned slowly, an instinctual fear gnawing at her stomach. "Miss Taylor," came Carter's voice, smooth as ice. "May I come in?" A wave of panic washed over Jessica. She shot a look at Mark, who was already inching towards the door, ready to intercept. "Do you want me to get rid of him?" Mark mouthed, tight-lipped. "No," Jessica hissed, heart racing. "I can handle this." With a deep breath, she stood, smoothing her shirt as she walked to the door, the cold handle like a vice in her grip. She opened it just enough to meet Carter's steely gaze, every bit the monster she remembered. "Can I help you?" She managed, her voice steady but laced with defiance. Carter's smile twisted into something predatory. "I thought we could discuss your future without the audience." He motioned to the workspace behind her, eyes glinting with malice. "I promise I one tea bite." The threat hung from his words, heavy and suffocating. Behind Jessica, she felt her colleagues' gazes on her, a mixture of fear and unspoken support. "Not here," she replied, her voice firmer than she felt. "If you have something to say, it's going to be in front of my team." Carter's expression darkened for a moment before he recovered, that sinister smile creeping back. "Very well. Let us see how long that bravado lasts." He stepped back, the edges of his shadow lengthening in the dim corridor. "I'll be waiting, Miss Taylor." Jessica closed the door, her heart racing. What was she in for? It felt like the first act of a cruel play, the stakes too high for the characters to escape unscathed. As she turned to face her colleagues, their faces scattered with uncertainty, she felt a surge of resolve. "We need to move fast. The meeting might be our last chance to expose him." The tension exploded back to life in the room as they gathered, the pressure pressing down heavier than ever. Each heartbeat echoed like a countdown, reminding her of the danger that loomed. But that small spark of defiance refused to die. She would not let fear rule her. As the door creaked behind her, a new voice chimed in, cool and collected. "We might need more than just proof to bring him down." Jessica paused, her heart stuttered. "Who else was involved?" "Who are you?" she asked, eyes narrowing. But before they could figure it out, an unforeseen power began to weave its way into their lives, threatening to consume them all. What new threat was this? And who could possibly control it? With the tension still thick in the air, Jessica felt a chill crawl down her spine. She turned slowly to face the source of the unknown voice. It had cut through the mounting fear and panic, resonating like the crack of thunder. Standing in the doorway now was a figure she barely recognized: Ryan, the office strategist known for his disquieting calm and sharp mind. He was new, an outsider who had quickly tangled himself in the office politics. The problem was, he wasn't scared. His confident posture and steady gaze made him appear equally unsettling and intriguing. "What do you mean?" Jessica asked, holding her ground. She was surprised at how steady her voice could remain, even under his piercing scrutiny. Ryan stepped closer. "Carter isn't just a man you can outsmart. He plays by his own rules, twisting truths to fit his narrative. You'll need leverage, something he can't easily dismiss." A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. Jessica's heart raced. "Are you saying we need to play dirty?" "Sometimes," Ryan began, folding his arms, "you need a monster to fight a monster. Find out his secrets. Turn them against him." Mark cleared his throat, breaking the reverberating silence. "Like blackmail?" "More like strategic positioning," Ryan corrected, his eyes sparkling with a dangerous kind of ambition. "We've all watched him control the narrative. If we want to expose Carter, we need to hit hard something he can't spin." Jessica felt a shiver of uncertainty at the moral implications. "What if it backfires? We can't put innocent people at risk." "There's no such thing as innocence in this game," Ryan replied, a knowing glint in his eye. "You think he hasn't ruined lives to get where he is? It's about survival now. You want to protect your life and your careers, don't you?" The challenge in his voice felt like a wrench, tightening in Jessica's chest. She exchanged uneasy glances with Mark and Angela, and the weight of the decision hung heavy. "Okay," she said finally, drawing a deep breath. "What's our first move?" Ryan smiled, but it wasn't a comforting smile. It was the smile of someone who had already considered the gamble and was ready to place his bets. He motioned them to gather closer, lowering his voice. "First, we need to get insider information. The kind that shakes the very foundation of his empire. I have a contact." Jessica's stomach flipped. "A contact? Who, and at what cost? Do you trust that contact?" Mark asked, skepticism threading through his voice. "Trust? That's irrelevant. What matters is how far we want to go." Ryan's gaze swept over them. "Where do your loyalties lie, truly?" Before they could answer, the flickering overhead lights glitched again, plunging them into darkness for a heartbeat. Panic surged as everyone exchanged frantic glances. Was someone listening? Did Carter know they were plotting against him? Then the light stabilized, illuminating the room once more. Jessica could feel her breath quicken as dread settled heavily in her gut. "We can't let him know we're onto him," she warned. "Before we take any risks, we need to be cautious." Ryan nodded slowly, a hint of disappointment flickering across his face. "Cautious, yes. But remember, caution can sometimes be synonymous with stagnation. You have to choose your battles wisely, Jessica." A cold shiver danced on Jessica's skin as she considered the swirling possibilities. Was Ryan just trying to manipulate them? Or did he genuinely want to help? As they began plotting their next moves, Angela's phone buzzed on the table, the vibrations seeming to shout for attention in the thick silence. Jessica's heart raced as she saw the screen light up a message from an unknown number. "The walls have ears. Be careful." Jessica opened her mouth to speak, but the words caught in her throat. What did that mean? Was someone else involved in this twisted game? The air turned electric as they all realized they were not alone in this battle. With just a text, a fresh wave of anxiety gripped them. "Who sent that?" Mark whispered, a look of dawning horror on his face. Jessica's skin prickled with unease. "I don't know. But now we need to be more careful than ever, and figure out who we can really trust." In that moment, the truth sank in, the stakes were rising, and they might just be caught in a web much larger than they anticipated. As the tension engulfed them once more, Jessica felt it deep in her bones. This was just the beginning. But who was pulling the strings behind the curtain, and could they navigate the treacherous waters before it all came crashing down around them? The clock was ticking, and they needed answers fast. Every eye in the room turned towards Jessica, a mixture of fear and curiosity flickering across their faces. She felt the weight of their expectations pressing down on her shoulders. The walls felt like they were closing in, and the specter of Carter loomed larger than ever. What do we do now? Angela's voice trembled slightly, drawing everyone's focus back to the table. We gather information, Jessica replied, the determination in her voice unexpectedly loud amidst their growing uncertainty. If someone's watching us, we need to be smart about how we navigate this. Whoever sent that message didn't just shoot it into the void, Mark added, his eyes wide. They know we're onto something. We can't afford to go in blind. Jessica nodded, her mind racing. Let us brainstorm who might have eyes on Carter. Employees, rivals, anyone unhappy with his reign could be a potential ally. Ryan leaned back, folding his arms with a smirk. You're thinking too small. We need to dig deeper, find someone who knows Carter's secrets. His past. That's where the real dirt lies. She hesitated, considering the implications of aligning with someone deep in the shadows. But the thought of being at a dead end sent a cold breeze through her. This was a risk they had to take. Let us follow that lead, Jessica said, pulling out her notepad. If you have ideas on who could give us intel, jot it down. As they scribbled frantically, Jessica's phone vibrated in her pocket. She pulled it out, meeting the glaring light with a racing heart. It was that same unknown number again. The message read, Carter is watching. Time is running out. Panic fluttered in her chest. Guys, listen. She showed them the message, and the air turned dense with dread. They know we're looking. We need a plan, and we need it now. Mark exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. What if it's a trap? How do we even know there is someone who will help us? Jessica opened her mouth, but Ryan interrupted, his tone chillingly steady. The truth is, trusting anyone in this game is a gamble. But sitting back and letting Carter play us like puppets is a far worse option. Each word split the air like a bullet. His confidence was both reassuring and terrifying. Jessica swallowed hard. How many layers of betrayal could there be? The lights flickered again, causing them to jump. This time, they seemed slower, almost as if the building itself was holding its breath. The tension between them thrummed like a live wire. Suddenly, a sharp knock on the door shattered their focus. All four heads turned, frozen in a blend of fear and anticipation. Jessica's stomach twisted. Who could be at the door? Did Carter send someone to silence their plotting? Stay quiet, Ryan hissed in a low voice, sliding toward the entrance. Angela clutched Jessica's arm, her eyes wide with fear. What if it's him? They all remained silent, listening intently. The knock came again, more urgent this time. With clenched fists, Jessica edged closer to Ryan. Open it, Ryan whispered, his eyes filled with an unnerving mix of curiosity and bravado. Jessica heard her heart thumping in her ears. Every instinct told her to hide, to run, to protect herself. But if it was an ally or even a foe with information, they needed to know. With bated breath, Ryan grasped the doorknob and pivoted it slowly, the door creaking open. The silhouette of a woman stood in the doorway, her face obscured, but the lump in Jessica's throat tightened as she caught a glimpse of familiar, piercing eyes. Jessica, the woman said softly, pulling away the hood of her jacket, revealing a face from her past, a face that smashed through her fortifications like glass. We need to talk now. Shock cascaded over the room. Jessica's mind raced through memories and implications. Why was she here? And what did she want? As her heart raced, she wondered if this unexpected encounter was a long-awaited lifeline or another unpredictable twist in this perilous game. What secrets would unfold, and who else had been watching? The tension was thicker than ever as Jessica stood frozen, caught between the ghosts of the past and the urgent demands of the present. As the woman stepped into the dim light, a wave of unshakable dread washed over Jessica. What had she walked into this time? And would it lead them out or deeper into the shadows where Carter thrived? The air grew even colder, and Jessica felt the clock ticking yet again. Time was running out, and she knew they were one step closer to a revelation that could change everything. Jessica's pulse quickened as the woman stepped further into the room, her presence suffused with an energy that screamed danger. The dim light revealed the deep lines etched on her face, lines that told stories of pain and survival. Every instinct told Jessica to retreat, yet curiosity kept her pinned to the spot. "Who are you?" Mark demanded, taking a step forward, breaking the ice thickening around them. "What do you want?" The woman's gaze flicked to him, unfazed. "I'm here to help, but you need to trust me. I know things about Carter that can change everything." "Trust?" Ryan sneered, his body tense. "You think we can just take your word for it? After the message we received? I understand why you're wary, but I swear on my life, this is bigger than you all realize," she said, her voice firm yet trembling. "Carter isn't just a businessman. He's involved in something far more dangerous than anyone knows, a web of deceit that reaches deeper than corporate rivalry." Angela's grip tightened on Jessica's arm, her voice a whisper. "What do you mean? What kind of deceit?" The woman drew a breath, her eyes sweeping the room before landing back on Jessica. "I used to work for him, back when he was still emerging. There were things I saw, things I was ordered to do, things that could haunt him." The room fell silent, the weight of her words hanging thick in the air. Jessica could feel the eyes of her friends on her, awaiting her response. Every nerve in her body was alert. This was exactly the kind of information they needed, but at what cost? "Why come to us now?" Jessica asked, her voice steadier than she felt. "I've watched you all from a distance. I thought I could stay out of it, but when I learned you were digging into his past, I knew I had to act before it was too late. Carter knows what he is capable of. He'll do anything to protect his secrets." A chill ran down Jessica's spine. "What exactly are we dealing with here? Carter has enemies, and I've been caught in the crossfire. There are people lurking, waiting for the right moment to strike," the woman said, her voice lowering as if the walls themselves might overhear her. "He wants to take you down, and he'll stop at nothing." Mark's eyes sparkled with anxiety. "So what's the plan then? We just expose him?" "Not yet. First, you need to understand what he has been hiding. We need evidence, proof that he won TC coming. It's a dangerous game, and with the stakes that high, we can't afford to make mistakes," she warned. The room filled with tension as they exchanged glances. Jessica felt her heart racing as every part of her urged her to ask more questions. What was this woman's real motive? Why would she risk everything to come here? "Okay," Jessica finally said, her voice cutting through the fraught silence. "We'll listen. But if you're lying or trying to play us, I won't hesitate to cut ties." The woman nodded, her expression serious. "That's fair. But time is not on our side. The longer we wait, the closer Carter gets to realizing you're onto him." Suddenly, Jessica's phone buzzed sharply in her hand, causing her to jump. She glanced down, another message from the unknown number. Her breath hitched, dread pooling in her stomach as she read the words, "Trust no one. The walls have ears." "What is it?" Ryan questioned, his voice low but pressing. She hesitated, her thumb hovering over the screen. "It's a warning. They're tracking us." Panic roiled among them, faces paling. "We need to move fast," Angela said, pulse quickening. "There's no time to waste," the woman urged. "Follow me. I know a safe place, but we need to act now, together." Jessica looked around at her friends, uncertainty etched on their faces, but a flicker of determination shone through. If they were going to unravel this, they had to act. "Let us go," Jessica commanded, striding towards the door. It felt like they were diving into uncharted waters, surrounded by threats at every turn. As they moved, the air hummed with tension. Every shadow carried the weight of uncertainty, and a familiar sensation gripped Jessica. Someone was watching, but as they hurried out, she couldn't shake the feeling, was this a step towards freedom, or deeper into a trap? And would they be prepared for whatever lay ahead? The pulse of fear quickened in her veins as they stepped into the unknown, but the darkest shadows cast the brightest lights. What awaited them at the next corner, she couldn't guess, but one thing was clear, the game had only just begun. As they rushed down the narrow hallway, Jessica could feel the weight of the woman's urgency press against her. The dim lighting flickered above them, casting eerie shadows that felt alive, crawling along the walls. "Keep your voices down," the woman hissed, glancing back at them as they reached an emergency exit. Her breath quickened, but there was still that unshakable determination in her eyes. "We have to maintain a low profile. Carter's people are everywhere." With a hurried push, she held the door wide. Fresh air poured in, tinged with the musty scent of damp concrete. Jessica hesitated, the chill of the moment creeping in. Just outside lay the unknown, the path of danger they had chosen to tread. "Are you sure about this?" Mark whispered, doubt creeping into his voice. "Yes," the woman replied, her gaze piercing. "They won't expect us to leave through here, especially not with how hastily we took off. But we must move quickly." They stepped outside, the night swallowing them whole. The streets were eerily quiet, the light from the distant lampposts flickering. Jessica scanned the area, every sense heightened. She could feel it, the pulse of the city, full of secrets and whispers, and perhaps threats lurking in the shadows. "Just a little further," the woman said, leading them into a deserted alley. The walls were dotted with graffiti, each stroke telling tales of rebellion. "There's a cafe a few blocks down. It's where I'll explain everything." Angela stumbled slightly, her hand clasped tightly with Ryan's. What if Carter's watching? Or worse, what if his men find us? He won't be looking here. He's too confident, too cocky. He never thinks small fry like us stand a chance, the woman asserted, her voice fierce. "Confident?" Ryan scoffed, frustration bubbling just below the surface. "You're expecting us to walk right into his trap with a stranger? We have no idea enough." Jessica snapped, her voice sharp. She turned to the woman, trying to ground herself. "What do we need to know? What exactly are we getting into?" The woman's eyes darkened as she spoke. "Carter is handling more than you think. Money laundering, offshore accounts linked to shady dealings. But that's not all. He's embroiled with people who won't hesitate to eliminate threats, and you three are unfortunately seen as those threats." Just then, a muffled sound echoed down the alley. The group froze, the hair on Jessica's neck standing up. Was it footsteps? A voice? They exchanged worried glances, the tension in the air thickening. "Quickly," the woman urged, urgency clawing at her tone. "We have to keep moving." They hurried down the alley, hearts pounding like a drum in their chests. But Jessica felt another vibration, this one from her phone again. Glancing down, she found another message from the unknown number, this time with a sense of finality. "They're closer than you think. Don't trust the woman." It was as if a bucket of ice water had been dumped over her. Her pulse quickened, pulse racing as her thoughts spiraled. Who was this mystery sender? How did they know? "Jess? You okay?" Angela asked, concern lacing her voice. Jessica looked at her friends, their faces strained but resolute. "We need to." A loud crash echoed from the other end of the alley, shattering the moment. They all froze in place, the noise pregnant with implications. "I think they've found us." Mark breathed, panic straining his voice. "Run!" the woman shouted, and in that instant, the group burst forward, desperation pumping through their veins. The thrill of the chase hung heavy in the air, but with every footfall, a morose realization swept in whatever game they had entered, it had become lethal. As they sprinted, Jessica's mind raced. Would she betray the woman they had just met over an anonymous message? What had she stumbled into? Cold realization dawned, chilling the fire of determination within her. Just ahead, the only light in the dark world belonged to the cafe, and shadows loomed around waiting, watching. Everything depended on what lay ahead, and it felt like they were marching blindly into the jaws of an unseen monster. But no matter the gamble, they had to press on. Secrets were tethered to uncertain fates. A whispered truth could unravel it all or seal their doom. What awaited them inside that cafe, as the night deepened, was still a mystery. The next chapter of their lives hinged on that very moment, and perhaps, one choice could change everything. The door to the cafe swung open, and they rushed inside, breathless and wide-eyed. The moment they crossed the threshold, the warm air greeted them like a forgotten embrace. It felt oddly comforting, yet unsettling all at once. Jessica scanned the small, dimly lit space filled with mismatched furniture and the rich aroma of brewing coffee. A few patrons glanced up from their tables, their expressions shifting from curiosity to concern as the group burst in. "Over there." The woman pointed to a booth tucked away in the corner, partially hidden by a curtain. They slid into the booth, most of their booth still aware of the stranger's anxious energy. "What now?" Ryan leaned forward, eyes darting toward the entrance as if expecting someone to follow them in at any moment. "We wait," the woman said, her voice low but firm, masking a layer of anxiety. She looked at each of them, raw determination mixed with fear etched across her face. "I don't want to attract attention just yet." Jessica grimaced. "Are you sure this is safe? You could easily be setting us up." Her heart raced at the thought of betrayal. The anonymous message flickered through her mind like a neon sign in the dark, screaming warnings she couldn't ignore. "Trust me," the woman replied, her gaze unwavering. "I don't want to involve you any more than you already are." Before they could react further, a sudden commotion erupted outside. The sounds of rapid footsteps and muffled voices filled the cafe, drawing their attention. Jessica's grip tightened around her coffee cup as she instinctively leaned closer to the window. Her pulse pounded in her ears, drowning out everything else. "Do you think they followed us?" Angela whispered, panic creeping back into her voice. "Only one way to find out," Jessica said, nudging the woman. "What's our plan here? Are we waiting for someone?" "Not just anyone," she said, her expression hardening. "We're waiting for my contact, someone who knows Carter's operations inside and out. They should be here soon." A few moments crawled by like molasses, thick with tension. The hum of conversation around them faded into the background. Just as the group began to relax slightly, the cafe door burst open. A tall man, drenched from the rain, stepped inside. He wiped his forehead with a flap of his dripping sleeve and scanned the room urgently. "Get down!" the woman hissed. But it was too late. The man's gaze locked onto theirs, and just like that, the cafe transformed into a battleground. He rushed toward them like a tidal wave, dread boiling in Jessica's chest. "Is that him?" Mark asked, his voice barely audible. "No." The woman growled, her voice tinged with desperation. "That's Carter's enforcer. We need to move now." Before they could react, the man reached their booth, his face twisted in fury. "You think you can run?" he shouted, voice reverberating like thunder crashing in a quiet room. The world shifted. The cafe seemed to morph, everything blurring around them. Jessica's instincts kicked in. "Run!" she screamed, leaping from the booth. But as they bolted for the door, a chorus of shouting erupted behind them. The cafe was suddenly alive with chaos, chairs clattered, coffee cups shattered. It felt like they were in a slow-motion film playing out in real life. "Go, go, go!" the woman urged, shoving Jessica forward toward the exit. The pounding of boots followed them, echoing like a death knell behind. Just as they reached the door, a hand shot out, grabbing Jessica's arm. She turned, panic-stricken, only to find herself face to face with the enforcer. His eyes were cold, a storm brewing within them. In that heartbeat, she felt the burning need to fight back, to break free, but then, the woman screamed something that stopped time. "Leave her. They need us alive." Before she could think, Jessica pulled away, adrenaline propelling her forward. They burst outside, the once soothing sounds of the cafe now replaced with the chilling breeze of the night. "Where do we go?" Ryan shouted, panting as they stumbled into the street, confusion thrumming beneath the surface. "Anywhere but here," the woman yelled, scanning the surroundings. And just like that, the chase resumed, stitching urgency into the fabric of the night, a frantic escape that twisted and turned back toward peril. What lay ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear, they weren't out of danger yet. Who would come to their rescue, and would it even be someone they could trust? Jessica felt the dread curling inside her, deepening with every desperate breath. Every second counted now. What was the truth, and how far would they have to run before they defined it? The night was just beginning, and shadows loomed behind them ready to strike again. Jessica's heart raced as they sprinted through the echoing streets, rain slicing through the damp night air like knives. The breathlessness didn't fade, it only intensified with every pace, a cruel reminder that danger was right on their heels. "Where do we go?" Mark panted, anxiety cracking his voice. "Just keep moving," Jessica shouted, urging them to run faster, adrenaline pumping through her veins like fire. A few blocks ahead loomed an ominous figure, a shadow against the barely lit backdrop of the street. It felt like the end of a movie where the hero faces impossible odds, the final confrontation hanging in the air. As they raced toward an abandoned warehouse, Jessica cursed herself for putting them in this situation. Had she acted too recklessly? This was no longer just about her defiance against Carter, it involved the lives of others now, lives she cared about deeply. They ducked behind a pile of debris just inside the warehouse entrance, its rusted metal walls clanging softly around them, echoing their trepidation. With her chest heaving, Jessica turned to her friends, their faces a mix of fear and determination. The tension was palpable, underscoring every breath. "Are we safe here?" Angela whispered, her eyes wide and vulnerable. "For now," Jessica replied, glancing nervously toward the entrance, "but we can't stay put for long. We need a plan." Just then, the woman stepped forward, her expression steely. "Listen closely. Carter won't stop until he finds you. We've got to make our move before he closes in." "Who are you?" Ryan demanded, his tone sharper now. "You can't lead us into this and expect our trust when we don't even know your name." "I'm Lisa," she said, desperation creeping into her voice. "I used to work with Carter, but I got out. He's dangerous, he was involved in things I can't even describe. I'm here because I want to help, but we're facing a real monster." Jessica felt her stomach churn. "And how do we know you're not playing us, too? That you won't just turn us in to save yourself?" Lisa stepped closer, eyes blazing with sincerity. "I came here because I've seen what he can do to those who defy him. We need to expose him before it's too late." Angela exchanged worried glances with the others, biting her lip. "What do you suggest we do?" "Gather evidence on his deals," Lisa replied carefully. "His financials, accounts, connections. But we don't have time to waste, his enforcers are searching, and they won't show mercy. Even if we find something, how can we trust who we'll hand it to?" Mark argued, frustration boiling to the surface. "We don't even know if we can trust you. You have to take a leap of faith," she exclaimed, her voice radiating urgency. "If we gather enough evidence to make him vulnerable, we can approach authorities who've been waiting for someone like you to step forward. I have ties, I can help you." Jessica weighed their options, her heart heavy with doubt, yet lit by a flicker of hope. "Let us move," she finally commanded, sensing this was their moment to strike back against Carter. Where one door failed them, the next promised liberation. They all nodded silently, an unspoken agreement binding them. They emerged from their hiding place, stepping cautiously into the darkness, but just then, a loud crash resonated through the warehouse. Jessica whipped around, sensing they had been discovered. They're here. Voices approached, shadowed figures swarming. Jessica's blood ran cold as panic surged back, corralling her thoughts into frenzied action. Run! Through the back! She yelled, adrenaline propelling her forward. The group dashed through aisles of abandoned equipment, fear driving their every step. The chaotic footsteps behind them grew louder, the air thickening with dread. They ran until they reached another exit, bursting through and landing in a dark alleyway, panting for breath, their hearts pounding like war drums. Where do we go now? Angela asked, glancing back toward the warehouse. Just keep moving, Jessica breathed, the reality of their situation closing in like a vice. They could hear muffled voices. Behind them, the danger still trailing too closely, push forward. Eyes wide, Jessica led the way, one foot in front of the other, determined to break free from the shadows that clung to them. Every street felt like a crossroad, every turn an escape from a life they once knew. They took a breathless turn down a narrow street, finding solace in the anonymity of the bustling city. The night felt charged with a new energy, and for the first time, they grasped the possibility of victory. But victory required sacrifice, and Jessica understood the budding reality that they were not just fighting for their lives, they were challenging a monster. They finally found a moment to rest, tucked away near a deserted park. As they sat down on a damp bench, panting, Jessica felt a rush of gratitude. They were all still alive. We need a safe place, Lisa murmured, catching her breath, to regroup. To plan. Let us head to my apartment, Ryan suggested. No one knows where I live, at least for now. The wheels were finally turning, answers just within reach. They couldn't let fear dictate their future any longer. As they moved through the dim-lit streets, Jessica felt a thrum of determination, strong and unwavering. No more running. No more hiding. The game was about to change, and together, they vowed to take Carter down. As they stepped forward, each heartbeat ignited a resolute promise. They wouldn't stop until the truth was exposed, no matter the cost. The shadows behind them faded just a little as the night unfolded. And with every step into the unknown, Jessica felt a growing sense of purpose, the resolve to seize back everything Carter had taken from her and to reclaim control of her destiny. And just as the moon pierced the clouds, illuminating their path ahead, the storm brewing in her heart transformed into a fierce flame of courage. It was time to fight back against the darkness. This was just the beginning. Now, let us take action. You need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next thrilling twists in this saga. Smash that like button now to fuel the algorithm and keep the stories coming. And don't wait even one more second. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and reactions. What do you think Jessica should do next? Who can they trust? Finally, share this story with at least 5 friends who need to experience this heart-racing conclusion. Your voice matters, and we're all in this together.